Welcome to LCBC. So glad you're here today. Let's stand. We're going to sing together and tell God that we love Him. Let's get our hands going like this. Come on. Heaven thundered and the world was born. Life begins and ends in the dust you form. Faith commanded and the mountains moved. Fear is losing ground to our hope in you. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name they shall be done. Freedom conquered, all our chains undone. Sin defeated, Jesus is overcome. Mercy triumphed when the third day dawned. Darkness was denied when the storm was gone. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name they shall be done. Sing this out, it's true. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name they shall be done. Let's sing this. When everything falls apart, and all our plans fall through. every step we take. God, we look your way. We follow in your way. In spite of all our doubt and fear, we believe that you are here. Not God is for us. Who can stand against us? Not God is with us. We are not in our weakness, you are able. Every moment, you are faithful. You are faithful. In our weakness, you are able. Every moment, you are faithful, God. You are faithful, God. In our weakness, you are able. Every moment, you are faithful, God. You are faithful, God. You are faithful, faithful God. We look to you. Not God is for us. Who can stand against us? Not God is with us. We are not alone. Not God is for us. Who can stand against us? Not God is with us. We are not alone. We are not alone. In our weakness, you are able. Every moment, you are faithful, God. You are faithful, God. Let's worship Him. In our weakness, you are able. Every moment, you are faithful, God. It's who you are faithful, God.
You were the Word at the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory wonderful name it is, the name of Jesus. You didn't want heaven without us, so Jesus, you brought heaven down. My sin was great, your love was greater. What could separate us now? What a wonderful name it is. What a wonderful name it is. Oh, the name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a wonderful name it is. Nothing compares to this. Oh, what a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a wonderful name it is. The name of Jesus. You are worthy of all praise. You are worthy, Jesus. We lift this song to you today. Oh, 'cause death could not hold you. The veil tore before you. You silenced the boast of sin and grave. The heavens are roaring, the praise of your glory. For you are raised to life again. You have no rival, and you have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom, yours is the glory, yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is! What a powerful name it is! The name of Jesus Christ, my King. What a powerful name it is! Nothing can stand against. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. You have no rival. You have no equal. Now and forever, God, you reign. Yours is the kingdom. Yours is the glory. Yours is the name above all names. What a powerful name it is. What a powerful name it is. You sing the name. What a powerful name. Nothing can stand. What a powerful name. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. What a powerful name it is. The name of Jesus. No, death did not win. No, death did not win. No, no, death did not win. 'Cause you won, Jesus. The victory is yours. All victory is yours. Amen. Heavenly Father, we have nothing else to say today other than thank you. Jesus, thank you for dying on that cross. Your word says that you died for us while we were still sinners. We know that we're not worthy of it, but we're so thankful for that today. That you have made us clean. And you look down on us and you say, you are beautiful, you are perfect, just the way you are. Thank you for meeting us where we're at today. We are so thankful for your love and all that you've done for us, Jesus. May we live like free people today. Jesus, teach us what it means to be more like you today as we continue to worship you. It's in your mighty name that we pray all this. Amen. Well, it was amazing singing with you guys today. We are so glad that you are here today, and so is the person in the seats next to you. So why don't you introduce yourself, learn each other's names, then just go ahead and grab a seat.
Oh, yes. All right. Ooh. Oh, all right.
Okay, hold it up.
Oh, all right.
This one's for me.
You're welcome.
Hold it up.
Yeah, I knew you'd like that one.
Yes, options are good, especially when it comes to socks for me, because I always lose that one sock. What happens to that one sock? Where does it go? I don't know. Anyway, we are glad and excited to be starting these Monday night gatherings, okay? And I've got some insider information for you today, okay? Monday night gatherings are going to look a little bit different at Mannheim. You interested? You know what I'm talking about? All right, check this out. Monday gatherings here at Mannheim are actually going to happen in the West Wing Auditorium. Now, if you don't know where the West Wing is, it's over there on the other side of the building. Head that away. And so we are excited to kind of re-envision a gathering in the West Wing Auditorium. We're also excited to get back to a room that has just had so much history for us as a church. We've done so many gatherings over in the West Wing. And so, gatherings in the West Wing. We've got to try and figure out how to do this, right? And this is where you all come in. We would love to have you come help us figure out how to do Monday night gatherings. We would love to have you join our team, step into making Mondays happen, okay? So as you leave today, stop by the middle of the atrium. There's a giant serve board. On that board, it's a list, just tons of different opportunities, ways for you to step in and serve around the church. There's different options. There's different times. See what interests you. But step in, join the team, come on board, help us out, help us figure out how to do Monday evening gatherings here at Mannheim in the West Wing. Glad you're here with us today. Excited to have you here. As always, want to know that you're here as well. Check in on our LCBC app or grab a pen right now and fill out the About You card. While you're doing that, our good friends, the ushers, are going to come and they'll be sending a basket down your row. And as that basket passes, it's our chance to bring gifts to God, to say, God, I trust you. I want to put you first in the area of my finances. And so if you haven't done that online, you can do so as the basket passes. You can drop your About You card in there as well. Now, last week, we held this environment here at LCBC we call Newcomers. And it was just a great opportunity to meet some new people, meet some new faces, hear some new stories. Would love to be able to have that same opportunity with you as well. Get to connect with you in a smaller environment while you learn about who we are as a church. And so our next Newcomers is coming up early October. I think your program says October 1st. Disregard that. It's actually October 8th, but come join us for Newcomers in early October. All right, we've got a lot happening here around LCBC. Obviously, we're launching gatherings, and we've got a bunch of things kicking off specifically around the area of connection. At LCBC, we really believe the importance of connecting relationally, and we want to help you be intentional about that as well. And a great place to start is the Life Group launch. It's coming up next Sunday night. Come on out that night. We will help you get a group off the ground. We'll actually take you through a life group experience. We'll spend some time singing, talking to God through song as well. But get intentional about your relationships. come join us next Sunday for the launch. Another great way for you to connect around LCBC is through some of the smaller environments that we create. And a bunch of them are actually getting kicked off again this coming week. And so, guys, we've got Men's Frat starting. She Studies for women. We've got College Age Connect for college students. And if you're in your mid-20s to 30s, we've got the Collective as well. Again, all of these groups are getting started in the next week or so. And the intention for all of them is to help you connect in a smaller group relationally. And so for more information, you can check out the website, lcbcchurch.com. Last thing, tonight, we are having our end of summer connect here at the Mannheim campus. It's going to be outside the soccer fields. And I don't know if you've heard, but it's supposed to be beautiful today, okay? It's going to be awesome. So come on out and join us. Bring a dessert with you, okay? We're actually not going to have dinner, so eat dinner beforehand. Or do what I'm going to do, don't eat dinner and just come eat more dessert, okay? So come on out, bring a dessert. We've got tables, we've got chairs, we've got inflatables and games for kids. Later on in the evening, we're going to set off a giant bonfire. But come and hang. This is going to kind of feel like you're getting to have dessert with your neighbors. Come, spend time. It's going to be a lot of fun, gorgeous night. And the Summer Connect is tonight. Don't worry about signing up either, okay? Just come on out. Glad you're here with us today. We're going to keep things rolling. Let's check out the screens together.
How do you define church? A building? A steeple? A message? An offering? A leader? A prayer? A hope? A difference? We were created to be more. We were saved to be more. We were set apart to be more. Jesus is the hope of the world, the light in the darkness. We are called to be the walking, breathing example of Christ's love. Are we measuring up, or are we playing it safe?
So good to be together with you today as you've come out for part 2 of the series that we are calling Safe, and it's actually a series about how we can live the best life possible by making intentional choices to not play it safe. In fact, the big, hairy, audacious central truth of this series is probably the fact that that thing that keeps you up at night, that thing that causes you all kinds of intense worry, that thing that causes the nausea deep in your gut, that kind of makes you afraid, that thing is probably best treated. It is probably going to start to get better as you do the counterintuitive thing, which is step outside of yourself and move toward others in service and in relationship. And so make sure that you don't miss next week. Every one of the series that we do here at LCB has a critical turning point or a critical event. Sorry, you didn't make it here for that this week. It's next week. So make sure that you come back for Safe Part 3. Now, you're probably familiar with some of these kinds of images. Some people call them magic eye images. I'm terrible at them, and it depends on how you look at them, what you see. And so as you look at this one, you may see the word good, right? Or some of you may see the word evil. I want to show you a couple more. I am so bad at these that when people bring them out and stare at them and they say, well, you know, you got to kind of tilt your head this way, you got to move over here, I do that. I never see what they're looking at. And so I just lie about it. I say, oh, there it is. Yeah, I never see it. So do you see an old man or a young woman? You're both right, because there is an old man and a young woman. The last one that I want to show you is by far the hardest one. When I found it, I couldn't find the other item at all. You're supposed to either see a goose or a rabbit. I could not find the rabbit. For the best of me, I looked at that stupid thing for 2 days. I couldn't find the rabbit. I took it to our Columbia Montour team meeting on Wednesday. I said, I think they're playing a joke on me. Does anybody see the rabbit? They all saw the rabbit. And then they showed it to me. Here's the mouth. Here's the ears. I see the rabbit. Now I can't see the goose anymore. So sometimes it can be very, very hard to see something new in something that you have been a part of or been looking at for a very long time. And so what I want to talk about this weekend is the unseen side of choosing not to play it safe. And so to do that, I want to begin by telling you a story about a guy by the name of Matt. And it is important that you understand a little bit about who this guy was, because it is an initial illustration about the point that I'm going to be making over the next 20 or 25 minutes. Matt was probably the most hated guy in his city. There was probably no one else in his city that was hated quite to the degree that Matt was, because Matt was a part of a city that had been invaded by a foreign government. He had purchased a franchise from that government that enabled him to be a taxing agent of his own people, which would make him wealthy, and he would pass some of those revenues on to the invading government. So Matt was even more hated than the invading soldiers, because at least they weren't turncoats. Matt was so bad that the church leaders decided he couldn't even come into the church building. In fact, the church leaders would tell their people, it's really not good to lie. God doesn't want you to lie. But when it comes to Matt, lie away, man. It's okay. You can treat Matt that way. The thing is, you probably know Matt. You probably know him as Matthew, and even though he was hated by his city, potentially the most hated guy in his city, Jesus was intentional about building a bridge and building a relationship toward Matthew, to the point where Matthew hosted a party so that he could introduce Jesus to his friends. The only problem is, who are the friends of the most hated guy in the city? They're the other people who are the mobsters. They're the other people who had purchased franchises from the invading government to extort money and get rich and give part of it to the government. We know from the Bible that there are hookers there. And so there's this party of mobsters, hated people, and hookers, and Jesus shows up. How would you feel if you heard about a party like that and someone said, Scott Federoff was there? That wouldn't go over very big, would it? And so the religious people got their noses all out of whack, because Jesus is showing up at this party of mobsters and hookers. And there is one huge takeaway before we even get to the point that I want to make, because it illustrates the point that I want to make. And here it is. If you don't have relationships with other people that would cause religious people to get their nose out of whack with you, you're not as much like Jesus as you think you are. If you don't have relationships with people that would cause others to talk behind your back and say, what in the world is he or she doing with them? You are probably not as much like Jesus as you think you are. Because religious people are concerned about the outside, right? Religious people are concerned about behavior management. But Jesus' thing is to shape the heart, which ultimately changes behavior. Part of what following Jesus looks like is building bridges to people who are very different from you, who may be uncomfortable for you, who may take you out of your comfort zone, who may cause other people to talk about you behind their back. Matthew was a life changed by Christ. And Jesus made what, from my perspective, may have been one of the most incredible public relations mess-ups in the history of public relations, where Jesus makes the decision that he's going to take this guy who is notorious and perhaps the most hated man in the city, and he invites this guy to be a part of his public launch team. He invites that guy to be a part of his core group. And so Matthew, as a life changed by Christ, actually writes a book book about his experiences with Jesus and the rest of the core group. You have it in your Christian Bible. It's the first book in your Christian Bible. It's called, appropriately and creatively enough, Matthew. And in chapter 25 of Matthew, Matthew quotes Jesus in telling this story. There was a businessman who was quite successful, and he was going away on a long trip, so he calls 3 of his key managers in before him. He divides up his business in 3 different sections, and he entrusts the care of that business to those 3 individuals. He goes away on the long trip. He has a great time. He gets a good tan. He does whatever he does. He comes back, and he calls the 3 managers in so that they can give a report of what they have done with what was entrusted to their care. Manager number 1 comes before the owner, and he says, I've been working hard. I have doubled the amount that you've entrusted to my care. The business owner gives him a good game, gives him a high five. Yes, they're thousands of years old. He gives him a promotion and a raise and says, way to go. I'm proud of you. Manager number 2 comes in and he says, I have worked hard, I have been diligent, I've been strategic, and I have doubled the amount of money that you've entrusted to my care. I have expanded your company by 100% in the amount of time that you've been gone. He gets a chest bump, good game, high five, promotion, and a raise. Third guy comes in and he says, I have been so very careful with what you've entrusted to my care. I have watched it constantly. I found a perfect place to save it and make sure that it was protected. I did not put any of your resources at risk. I have not lost a dime. Here is 100% of what you've entrusted to my care. I give it back to you. He gets fired, and what was entrusted to his care gets divided between the other 2 guys who were successful. I don't know about you, but I'm guessing you'd be one of the guys who got promoted. I'm guessing you'd probably want to be one of the guys who got the attaboy and the raise. My guess is that there is an awful lot to that story that we just don't see, because we don't see the unseen side of success, nor do we see the unseen good intentions of failure. We don't see the uncommon part of success, which is uncommon success requires uncommon habits. Uncommon habits result in uncommon success. You can't do what everybody else is doing and get something different than they're getting. This is something our church has understood from the beginning. Uncommon success requires uncommon habits. And we don't see what is behind the veil of the 2 guys who won. We don't see the diligence and strategic planning. We don't see the laying up awake at night trying to figure out how they can maximize the risk that they have put their owner's money toward. We don't see the angst of getting up in the morning and running to see what's been happening with the investments that they made. Neither do we see the unseen good intentions of the poor guy who lost. We don't see him thinking, oh my word, my boss is such a good businessman. I'm probably not that good of a businessman. The last thing I want to happen is for him to come back and for me to have to hand to him less to be entrusted to my care. Those other 2 guys are crazy. I don't know what in the world they're thinking, putting his money at risk. What are they going to do if they lose some of this? I'm going to hold it close. I'm going to find a place to hide it. I'm going to be diligent. I'm going to keep looking after it and making sure that it is exactly what he has given me. And so when the boss gets back, I think he's excited. I think he's pumped to be able to say, look, I didn't lose any. It's all here. I am trustworthy. But listen to me. Here's the problem. The heart of the manager addicted to security did not match the heart of his boss. The boss has a heart for more. The boss has a heart to expand. And the employee addicted to security just didn't get that. He had a heart to be safe. Listen to me. Get this. There is an unseen side to success. There is an attitude that drives uncommon habits that lead to uncommon success. And so that's what I want to share with us. And the first time that I was introduced to this habit, to this way of producing uncommon habits was in 1998. Brenda and I were in year number 7 of planting a church. It was going great. We were having an awesome time. We loved the people. The church was going. Brenda and a partner had just started a business about 10 months before this, and it was growing like crazy. And I was thinking, man, Brenda's gonna make me rich. And let's face it, if anybody's gonna make me rich, I'm counting on Brenda. She's kind of my only hope. And so things are going awesome. The boys are settled. We had just purchased a new house. And the telephone rings, and it's a guy from California, a guy whom I had heard of, who I deeply respected, who enjoyed reading his books. And he said, hey, Scott, we are a couple of us. There's 6 couples together. We're launching a new organization. We're going to take a fresh look at part of how we do some of this mission. We need a couple of younger outsiders to kind of help us shape what we're doing and be a part of it. We want to invite you to California to take a look at what we're doing. I had no intention under the sun of changing jobs. We just bought a house. Brenda just started a business. Church is going great. But we have 3 young boys, and it's a free trip to California. Sure, we're coming. No worries. Let's go. Brenda and I get on a plane. We fly into LAX. We go down to Orange County. We spend some time in Huntington Beach and walking on the beach. We meet with 7 couples who are a part of this launch team, all of them deep, substantive people whom I deeply respected and desperately wanted to meet and learn from because they had decades of success that in ministry that I felt like I would only ever be able to dream about. And so we're asking questions and having interactions, and it's an energizing couple of days. And at the end of that time, as Brenda and I are getting ready to get back on a plane to fly home, the founder takes me aside and he says, let's go for a little walk. And he said, it's been great to have you and Brenda here. I've talked to the other folks, and we want to invite you to be our vice president. We would love for you to be the COO and just kind of help us operate things, set up the organizational structure. You would have these departments under you. And so we want to invite you to be a part of us. Come on out and experience what God's going to do. And he said, this is the last thing I have to offer to the kingdom before I get to go home. And in that moment, without thinking, I just said, you know, my wife just started a business with a good friend of hers, and it's really growing, and the church is doing well, and we just bought a house, and the boys are settled, and it just doesn't feel like a good time right now. It just doesn't feel like the right time for a cross-country move and uprooting everything. And he just smiled at me as if he had been expecting that response. And then he said this, here's one of the things I've learned, Scott, over the last 50 years of being on an adventure with Jesus. When God starts to move, he often forces a decision between security and opportunity. And how you respond dictates the next season of your relationship with God. This is something I've talked to some of you about already, and I hope I get to talk about it again. And so when God starts to move in your life, in my life, in our life, when God gets ready to move, he often forces us to make an intentional decision between security, that which you know, that which you're comfortable with, that's what you feel like you can manage, and opportunity, the unknown, the scary, the outside of your comfort zone. And how you respond dictates the next season of your relationship with God. And so Brenda and I get back on the plane, we fly back to the East Coast, and I cannot get that sentence out of my mind. I can still to this day see that conversation between he and I as if it had just happened this morning. And as I would get back into the Bible, I began to see that principle everywhere. Right away in Genesis, God says to Abram, great news, buddy. I am going to build through you a nation. Your offspring will outnumber the grains of sand on the beach. Abram, whoa, that's great. What do you want me to do? Move. Okay, where? I don't know. Start walking. Security or opportunity? Very next book over, Moses been living in the desert for 40 years. He doesn't even like people. He's been living in the desert for 40 years. Got a stuttering problem. He's really bad at diplomacy because you don't need much diplomacy to live in the desert. God shows up after 40 years of living in the desert, and he says, hey, Moses, I want to liberate a couple million of my people from a captive country. I need you to do the diplomacy work and then lead them to a resort community that I have prepared for them. Wait, what? I stutter. I don't really like people. That's why I live in that's not my thing. Security or opportunity. A couple of books later, in the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah is a very well-placed high government official, and he gets word from his family that the city where he grew up has been decimated. They've been attacked. It's in ruins, and it breaks his heart. And he spends 6 months praying about what should I do? How can I help? What will you do? Will you please come and show up and do something amazing on behalf of my people in their city? And God says to Nehemiah, here's what I would like to do. I want you to go to your boss, ask him for a sabbatical so you can do it. And then ask him for all the resources you need to build it, and some military people to protect you would be really good. The only problem is for Nehemiah to go before his boss, the king, with that kind of a request could immediately get him killed. Security or opportunity? Man, when God starts to move, he often forces a decision between security and opportunity. And how you respond dictates the next season in your journey with God. Here is what I have learned over the last couple of decades. People and churches that choose security over opportunity end up stuck. They end up sitting in a circle, picking at one another like kids in the backseat of your minivan on a road trip when the DVD doesn't work. They're bored, they're cranky, they start looking around at their own circumstances, and they grow a sense of dis-ease. Something's just not right. A lack of contentment becomes the backdrop of their life. Now listen to me. As a church, we get this. Again and again and again and again, we intentionally, wisely, but intentionally will choose opportunity. It is not always easy. It is almost never something that seems obvious. But that's why we do things like try Monday night gatherings on some of our campuses. That's why we come alongside other churches and try to help them be successful. That's why we do so many of the things that we do. We constantly opportunity first, opportunity over security, again and again and again and again. Here is the thing. How do you and I personally embrace the value of choosing opportunity over security so that we can exponentially add to our church's choice of opportunity over security? And so here's the thing that we tend to not understand, and I'm going to be very, very honest with you for a couple of minutes. Man, you and I were never intended to take this brief moment on earth and do everything that we can do to make it secure. Your eternity has already started. And the only opportunity that you have to influence the way you will spend the rest of your eternity is how you invest this brief moment. And here is one thing about which I have become incontrovertibly convinced: that abundant life that Jesus said he came to provide. John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus talking, John quoting, I, Jesus, have come to give you not just life, abundant life, full life, adventurous life. I've come to give you the abundant life. That life starts just on the other side of opportunity. You're never going to get that kind of a life if you're going to keep turning back towards security. Keep turning back towards security. That life starts just on the other side of opportunity. And I don't know about you, but I want to be an opportunity seeker. I want that abundant life. I don't want to have any arrows left on the day that I die. I want to make sure I've got every one of them shot. So here's the thing. We all want opportunity. We would all love to be extinguished on the last day that we've got, but almost none of us will do that. Why? Because opportunity, and we've learned this organizationally, is very, very expensive. It is painful to pursue opportunity. You know what's awesome about weekends in September? Yeah, it's not church. Church is truly awesome, don't get me wrong, and don't tell on me. Football. And I know, I read your emails. Not everybody cares about football. Not everybody likes football. What you don't understand is I don't care. Except for the quarterback, who aren't real football players. Except for the quarterback, you will never see after a football play some guy running up to an official or a coach and saying, I got hit on that play, right? I mean, that's just stupid. That's kind of the point. That's why they gave you the helmet and all that other stuff, right? You're just not going to see that. It's not the way it works. But if you're going to choose opportunity, listen to me, you're going to get hit. You're going to have some pain. You're going to start moving toward opportunity, and somebody's going to come along and take your legs out from under you. Choosing opportunity will inevitably cause you some short-term pain, and you've got to be ready for it. You've got to be willing to take it. You've got to understand that it's going to be worth it. John wrote about that very thing in John chapter 15. Take your seat Bible and turn to page 824. Get there on your device or the Bible that you brought. The passages that I'm going to show you this morning, the sentences from the Christian Bible, are among the most ignored sentences in the whole thing. It's probably in a pretty clean section. And here's what he says. If the world hates you, stop what you're doing and do whatever it takes to get them to like you. Oh, wait, no, sorry. If the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. That's Jesus talking. See, so you are a follower of Jesus. You're following the most hated person in the history of humanity. That's why they killed him. They didn't kill him because somebody was jealous because he won a popularity contest. The world would love you as one of its own if you belong to it, but you are no longer part of the world. Man, if you choose opportunity over security, somebody that you care about is going to start talking about you behind your back. They're going to start criticizing the choices that you make. They're going to be bewildered at the fact that you are choosing to give your money away instead of use it to buy some kind of a new trinket for your house or your car or your motorcycle. They're going to make fun of you because you're building bridges in relationship toward people that no one in your station of life should want to have relationships with. They're going to gossip about you because you're going to use some of that well-deserved vacation time to go to a place that no middle-class American in their right mind would ever want to go, to serve people that no middle-class American in their right mind would ever want to serve. Expect it. It is going to happen. When you choose opportunity over security, the people hanging on to security are going to take shots at you. It's going to come, but there is a reason why that is okay. I don't know who wrote Hebrews, but they give us the reason in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. Watch this. It's powerful. Because of the joy awaiting him, and if you have your own Bible, circle that word joy. He endured, if you have your own Bible, circle the word endured, the cross, disregarding its shame. If you have your own Bible, circle those three words. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Listen, when the pain of choosing opportunity comes, disregard it, because the joy makes it so incredibly worth it. Jesus was killed because he chose opportunity over security. Jesus was killed because he wouldn't come in line with the comfort of the religious people of his day. He endured that pain. He didn't enjoy it. The Bible doesn't say anywhere when Jesus is 31, in about a year or two, they're going to nail me to a cross. I can't wait for that day. No, he endured it because it hurt, was full of pain, but he endured it for the joy that was so off the hook, extravagantly joyful that the pain of the moment made it worth it. Endure the pain, disregard for the joy, the payoff. So extraordinarily satisfying. Listen to me, you guys already get this. You already get this. Some of you run. I don't know why. I have tried running. It makes me jiggle, doesn't feel good. After about a mile, my knee starts to hurt. Mile and a half, I can't breathe. And then I figure, this is a free country. Why am I doing this? But you choose the pain of running for the runner's high at the end. Because the fitness of walking through life as a runner is worth it to you. Some of you are weight trainers, right? And when you're lifting weights, you are literally tearing your muscle. And it hurts. But you endure the pain of the torn muscle to get the pump, right? You want bigger muscles, and it's worth it to you. Some of you voluntarily choose to have cats. You endure the pain of owning cats. I don't know why. Those pains are exactly the same as the other kinds of pain that we voluntarily embrace. Sometimes it is mind-numbingly intense, and yet it is still worth it. Choosing opportunity will cause you pain. There's another thing that choosing opportunity will cost us. It will cost us loss. Because when you move toward opportunity, you have to move away from security. You can't do them both at the same time. Ancient Chinese proverb, he who tried to walk two roads will split pants. You have to choose one or the other. When you turn toward opportunity, you cannot keep a foot back in security. And so moving toward opportunity is going to cost you loss. It is going to cost you the loss of some things that you really, really love. It means establishing uncommon habits so that you can experience uncommon success, but those uncommon habits are going to cost you things that you really love so that you can say hello to some things that you love even more. That's what the Hebrew passage is telling us. You can give up the pain. You can give up the things that you will lose because the things that you will get, you will love even more. It means saying goodbye to some things that you love in order to say hello to some things that you love even more. Get this, when God starts to move, He often forces a decision between security and opportunity. How you respond dictates the next season of your relationship with God. Choosing opportunity is expensive. It will cost you pain. It will cost you loss. But choose opportunity anyway, because there is nothing more rewarding than the abundant life that Jesus wants to give you, but that starts just on the other side of opportunity. You will have an eternity to party in the aftermath of your choice of opportunity. So in a real practical sense, how do you and I as individuals take this value that is a part of our family at LCBC, of choosing opportunity over security, of developing uncommon habits to achieve uncommon success, how do you and I take those and own them personally, which will be like strapping afterburners to the family as we move forward? Let me show you what I believe might be the two most ignored sentences in all of the New Testament. Hebrews chapter 10. The first one is not very much ignored. The second one is ignored big time. I don't know who wrote Hebrews, but that's okay because you don't either. In Hebrews 10, verse 23, I don't know what's driving the author to say this. I can only imagine that the people that he's writing to are going through opportunity pain. The winds are blowing so hard that they're starting to waver in their confidence in what they believe. So in verse 23, he says, let's hold tightly without wavering. Man, hang on, white knuckles, without wavering to the hope. He doesn't say the beliefs, interesting. The hope comes from the beliefs. To the hope we affirm. Why? Because God can be trusted for his promise. Then the next sentence, verse 24, the really ignored one. Let us think of ways to motivate one another. Some of your other translations have think of ways to spur one another on. I like that because you know what spurs are, right? The sharp things on the end of your boot that you kick with. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good work. So here's how I want to talk about this, and then we're going to be done. Number one, don't trust your feelings. Trust God. I think something's going on in the recipients of this letter that they're starting to lose confidence. They're starting to lose hope, and they've got to be reminded, hold on to what you know is true. Hold on to the hope that you know results from that which has been revealed to you as truth. Here's the thing. You can't trust your feelings. As soon as you make a turn toward opportunity, something is going to happen where you're going to get some anxiety in the pit of your gut. Your palms are going to start to sweat a little bit. Some people that you care about are going to start criticizing you because you're moving in a direction that is uncomfortable for them, and the last thing they want is for you to do something that's going to make them feel uncomfortable. Don't trust your feelings. Your feelings will lie to you. Your feelings are only about your emotions. They are entirely selfish. It's the only way feelings can be. And feelings have no ability to see the big picture. Feelings can only be about your fear in the moment. Do not trust your feelings. If you had a friend who was selfish, who couldn't see the big picture and could only lie to you, would you go to that friend and ask for advice? I don't think so. Don't trust your feelings. Here's the next sentence. We'll phrase it this way because it feels nicer. Go together. This is never, ever, ever, ever a solo flight. But the way the person that wrote Hebrew said it is you and I need to spend some emotional energy, some mental energy, thinking of ways to come alongside people I know in my life group, in my church that serve alongside of me, my friends in the community, my bride, my son. Spend intellectual energy thinking of ways to love them enough to get in their face and say, hey, how come you're still at a relational disconnect with your neighbor? Shouldn't you have built a bridge back there by now? Remember that person that you said a couple of months ago that you were trying to get the courage to invite them to come and experience a gathering so that they could be a part of all the incredible things that God's doing? Have you done that yet? Remember when you said that you were going to take a shot, you were just going to test God, you're going to take a shot on that tithing thing? How's that going? Did you do it? Did you man up? Or did you turn back towards security? See, that's very uncomfortable for us because we live in a mind-your-own-business kind of culture. And yet one of the uncommon habits that Jesus calls us to, if we're going to achieve uncommon success, is to love one another enough that I'm going to take some time in my head to come up with ways to meet you where you are, and you're going to do the same for me, so that I can climb that next hill that God has put in front of me that's going to force me over that opportunity. And here's what I want you to know. Once you choose opportunity once, man, you're going to choose it again. Once you choose it twice, you're going to choose it a third time. Once you choose it 3 or 4 times, it's going to become a way of life. And you're going to be like, okay, God, what's the next thing, baby? Let's go. I love this abundant life. One of those uncommon habits is loving one another enough to spur one another on. So 4 guys out playing golf, you're not just talking about the weather. You're talking about how you can take your considerable talents together and do something uncommonly eternal that makes you all uncomfortable. Talk about living an adventure. Man, talk about strapping rocket boosters to an organization that already chooses opportunity over security, that already has uncommon habits that result in uncommon success. It can't end because there are still doomed people. So your assignment is this. One thing, and you know what it is because God keeps bringing it back to your mind. What one area have you been choosing security instead of opportunity? That relationship you need to rebuild, maybe it's time for you to finally start serving, to get past that fear. Maybe it's a financial thing. Maybe it's restoring a relationship with someone with whom you have been at odds. I don't know what it is for you, but what is that one, just one thing? Just start with one thing. And then the second part is the hard part. Tell someone that you know and give them permission to hold you accountable so that next week or 2 weeks from now they can say, hey, how'd that go? Do you need me to maybe go with you so you can actually pull it off? We're in this together, man, me and you. Let's do it. That's your assignment. So I think it's totally fair when you head in the atrium. It's totally fair. If you know who it is, if you know the person and you've got a relationship, to say to them, hey, what's your one thing? And how can I help? Let's choose opportunity over security, and let's live that abundant life, because the moment's almost over. Let's pray. Father, thank you that you are a God that has modeled for us choosing opportunity over security to the point where the hatred of you and your culture became so intense that they killed you. Thank you, Father, that you've given us all the tools that we need to live the abundant life that you came to provide for us. And forgive us when we kind of turn our backs away from some of the tools that we can employ to help one another fully experience that abundant life. I want to be a person with uncommon habits resulting in uncommon success. I want to be a person who chooses opportunity over security, just like our whole family does. I pray, Father, that you would help me and us establish those uncommon habits in a way that brings you great glory. We love you. Amen.
Lives being changed by Christ as our tangled hearts unwind. We were bound, but we've been untied by a love we can never find. We are found in you. Jesus, you're the one who saves us. Take our lives and change us, all for you. Jesus, Jesus, there's no other Savior. We are bought and paid for because of you. Would you stand and sing this with me? Take our lives and change us all for you.